So we start from the galaxy, and what we have taken from galaxy is we have interpreted it as a playfield of connectivity. Connectivity of built spaces, of landscape, of water features, of movement, and this is what we have worked out with the tool which is playfulness, because we thought that was the way if we get into it, because we didn't feel otherwise capable of deciphering it, and we thought if we are playful and if we really like allow ourselves to experiment and go into it, we might come out with some jewels. And I'll begin with the sections that we showed last time. They are of the given road. And what we are trying is one of the pearls that had come up in Ganesh's presentation, that if you're not seeing the road, it's because it's under the buildings. And that means that we need to connect from time to time, if not at all the places. And so we were thinking of connectivity across the road in the sections and to tweak a bit the section so that that was possible. And I'll just cross by, we have spoken about it last time, and how we feel that the site should start from the crown, not beyond the crown on two sides of the roads. The moment we stop saying two sides of the roads, then we have a possibility of thinking of it being as one cohesive whole. And yeah, possibilities of interconnections. And then a question came in our session last Saturday, the Saturday before, is, in fact, Mari said to me, that I would not like to go above there because there's so much of vibration from the road and the vehicles. And suddenly I realized that that is not the kind of the road I'm envisioning here. I'm not envisioning fast-going traffic here causing vibration and the fact that we would not like to go over it. In fact, I was proposing that the library extension happens across the crown. So it triggered us to think of really, is that what we are planning of, traffic going on this in whatever way given to us? And now on that, should we even connect? And the question comes, what type of street do we need? Because I've taken this from Henrik. This is Henrik's slide. And he has, 16.7 meter road and built elements around it. And as Mari pointed out today, and as we as a team felt, actually it will be like this, because nobody really wants to be right next to a road where vehicles are moving, even if you have 2.1 meters and 3 meters. No, we don't want to be around it. We want to be as away from it as possible. And then what we will see of our galaxy plan is a clear cut through it. And is that really what we are thinking of implementing? Because really all, even Ganesh mentioned that when we pick it up, it's one whole when you pick it up. And no, right now already I see as two different parts, and the more we go on this line, we'll have more parts. And I'm trying to work, our team is trying to work on the other direction as to how to connect it, so that yes, at parts it's open because we are talking of porosity, and other parts not open. But to have that, what are the examples we find where we have connections on top of the street? So we went back actually. We went back, thinking what kind of road do we need? And we said we said that we don't need a road. What we need is a street, an interactive space, which is there for mobility, yes, but where the movement is not only happening of vehicles and people, but of built elements here and there, and people do want to connect and want to go through, because Galaxy plan is all about communication and integration, and it should be seen in all the elements and at different scales. And then when we talk of the edge of the street, no, we don't want to put our buildings far away to avoid the road. In fact, we want to have parts of the built spaces, which are like semi-covered spaces, to speak to the road so that there is an extension of the street onto the spaces beyond. And then we looked at some modern examples, and we saw that wherever there are connections, we see what is the kind of climate on the street. It's not fast-moving traffic, it's not buzzing by, only then we feel like connecting through. So if we really think of connecting, we need to think of what we are proposing as a street. And some more examples, and I like that graphic because it really brings down to the scale of what we may have, and then we feel like connecting it over. it is related. And then from that starting point, we start again our presentation and we say that Crown for us is a place where we see our culture unfolding. And as every city and every place has a culture, we believe that Auroville has a culture of values. We are given certain values which we have either imbibed or are trying to imbibe. And our street, like the downtown Auroville, will not have commercial like the cities have, because there is a commercial is what their value is. Our values are different. And those values will be out here to see and experience and live on this street. And they will be in form of art. See, we need outdoor spaces for these, it's inside. And they'll be in form of water and soil conservation, because that is also part of our value system. And the different building materials that we have been exploring ever since, Roger and Popo and Piero and Helmut started building. And with that kind of a background, I come back to the proposal that we have further worked on. So these are the existing buildings in the residential zone from Solar Kitchen up to Sante and a little beyond up to the park. And what we have here now is a slightly different version. So what we had tried before was to take the footprint of the galaxy, and now what we have done is we have interpreted that into different scaled spaces interconnected. So along with the existing, we have kept the proposed spaces. We have talked of connections on the top and also on the ground, connections also on the ground where the street widens and narrows from time to time. It widens to accommodate activities, sitting areas, impromptu chai, dosa stalls, pan galas. So yeah, so it widens to accommodate those, to accommodate, bazaars, farmers market, weavers, name it. And Manu has talked about different possibilities of having bazaars. So we have different bazaars here. So the space around the street is kind of punctuated, making it wider at places, making it narrower at places by activities which will be used by us. At the same time, as mentioned twice already, if an ambulance indeed has to go by, the other vehicles are able to, be on the side and the ambulance can indeed go by. And what we have here, we have taken the inputs from the residents last time, and we were told that, I'd said that when we connect built spaces to each other, let us also have a common function. And I was told that why not have a parking for Solar Kitchen, because people come, they park, and it's required, and it's so ugly. So can you have, so this is of course not a design, but a kind of a urban design where we say that we can have connective space. And I was also told by one of the youth that yes, we want to be there out there, but not all the time out in the open. So we want some space away too. So then we reworked on the form and the feature of the youth space, where it is partially on the road and partially away, and they have their own inner space. Complementing that is another space, more public in nature, and then the road that takes you to the parking. And as Mari has previously said, then most of the parking can happen here, along with other activities that can be thought about. I leave that to everybody to dream about. And then, because I was talking about connectivity of built forms, of pathways, of people, of the green and of the blue, I said we need to go beyond and see it's not just around the crown that the galaxy will manifest, it will manifest beyond and even on the inner side. So I have gone ahead with really very basic urban design forms, which are talking about a face which is more public space where people can move about, and secondary public, semi-public facilities can come over, and pathways that go beyond through those. And they have a face which is more private, and there we talk about water conservation and more private space, that there are, the built faces have their own character, one of them that allows the movement of public, the other side or the third side which has, expression of silence and privacy, both. So we tried to put these together and make a kind of a fabric. And this is a fabric of green, blue walkways, and what I'm terming as the red. That is a public space. It's just to give it a color which is, fun color. So let's have our plotting beyond these, so that the greens and the blues and the reds are common spaces, including this cafe. So yeah, these are kind of spaces we have taught across the library. This is the existing library building. This is semi-covered space. On the ground floor, we will have book reading and other related activities, more quiet and silent. There are exhibition spaces here, installations. So these are the spaces to read. These are art, interactive art, and installations, because here in Auroville, when we talk about values of courage, of transparency, of togetherness, we have issues which are burning and which we care about, and we need to have spaces to put them up, discuss them, and talk around them, because we are here to, look at it, be honest about it, humble about it, and, find ways to work further on it. And space is the bazaar that I mentioned, which would be, looking different at different times. And yeah, more of the art spaces, which I've talked about before, ephemeral art. And one more idea that came up for this cafe over here, that if we have a cafe, the street is below, and this is part of the cafe. It's possible, connective spaces can be fun, can be differently thought out. And yes, the conservation of water. So we had talked about crown as a bund, and that means that we are not just holding water at the crown and flooding it. We have, the water has been conserved, and as per the experts, in different parts, connected through. One of them is crown as a bund, and then of course it's beyond the crown as well. And at times it is made, possible to feel. And then we were thinking here, so I've changed the footprint here to accommodate kind of built spaces which can be more for the green, pro-green, and talking about water harvesting and so on in the cultural zone, in the green, in the park area. And then we were thinking this is an unpaved space, and we were thinking that we could have a circle of trees and we pass through it, so that when we are passing through the park, yes, we have trees around, but there is part where it's open and the trees are holding us, and let us understand this, that the trees are holding us, literally so, and an experience of that. This is without the built areas, the green, blue, and the red, and the places for impromptu pani puri, dosas, chais, and also the seating. We could not mark it separately, the seating, because I was told it's very important to think of seating from at different spaces. And then I was asked by one of the participants, by one of the residents, of when we are talking of a street which is not following a perfect shape of a curve or straight line, what is the rationale behind this, logical? So one of the rationale is, of course, that movement we are thinking of rather than only mobility. This is from DDP Luis Feducci. And it has been proved already that when we have narrower roads, winding roads, automatically the speed is less. And in fact, Luis Feducci, this is a crown in residential zone sector 1 and 2. It's not straight, it is what you see. And then what we did was, because we were stuck with just one area, we said, now let us really take a fresh sheet of paper and put in our ideas, what we have been trying to say. And so we are talking about built spaces which are having mixed land use over here. There is a possibility of tram. And yes, the pedestrians, and it's a shared space, but we have other pedestrian spaces also. There are options. It's not like you have to walk in the middle of the road so that the car becomes slow. No, you can walk wherever you want. And then there are different types of pedestrian spaces at different levels so as to accommodate different activities. Some areas given away only to green and only to blue, of course. and which creates, different, the minimum size we have taken here is 6 meters and it increases. We have also some parking spaces, because if we are talking about cafes, there'll be some parking on the sides. And we are talking here about the relationship of the pathways to the built spaces of the, the areas considered, the dimensions, and of through connections which are shaded connectivity. And also, very important, we know about open, semi-covered, covered, semi-covered, open, but we keep forgetting that. Very important to use semi-covered spaces for internal mobility, walking mobility. And these are just the different types of pavings. And the green and the blue. And what we are saying here is that when we have, when we plot our built spaces now, then when we plot them, we need to have guidelines for porosity. So what kind of porosity are we thinking of? How much of percentage of porosity is required so that the through connectivity is facilitated, the idea of built spaces conversing with the street is facilitated. And then what are the kind of connections that we give, which are built, which are in as pathways, which are semi-covered spaces, which are the common spaces which the two plots will have to, put together so that it's a larger common space to be used, so that when we are working on one plot, we are not working in an isolated way. We are at the same time thinking of the plot next to us, because only then we will be able to work with the connectivity, the envisioned connectivity. And then the building materials, because if we are having concrete jungles, it's not because concrete is the best element, it's because it is the cheapest and the builder can make the most money. So if we are saying that we don't want to do concrete, we want to try different materials. If we are saying that we want to have connectivity across, shaded pathways, bridges across, then these require funding, and the funding that we get should be accommodated for these kind of things, so that the conventional buildings will not have a reason to be conventional anymore. Then we will have support for the vision that we hold. And we have worked out the areas here, because I feel finally it is the plotting that is important, and the urban design features. And the water and soil conservation guidelines that have to come with every plot as well, of what kind of water conservation, where, how much, and so on and so forth. And yes, space for impromptu activities to unfold, that should be not plotted. A close-up of this. I think sufficiently you can see that there are different types of mobilities possible, and that it's a shared space with ample walking around and through. And these are some areas we have worked out, and the population in this given diagram. And then this is one more option we have done, because not only built spaces need to be connected and given here, there can be different other activities that we envision around the crown be given, and they also form the part of the connected fabric. And here now we have again worked with connecting across. So at parts the crown road or street, if I may say, is wide. At parts it is narrow, both for a reason, both giving different chances and different opportunities and different environment for us to experience different connectivity through, and close up of the same. And why so many urban design guidelines? Why? It is because somewhere in being the modern people that we are, we have forgotten that every line has a meaning, which the architects used to know before. And when they drew a line, it had a meaning to it. It had interconnectivity thought of beforehand. It had various layers. Already in one sketch, there would be layers of thought put in. And this is what we need to bring back, and therefore the guidelines. And to be really aware that the edges that we have hold a meaning in the way they are porous, in the way they are folding into each other or opening out, and the way they fold in give us different opportunities of spaces and usages, and that the hierarchy and scale of the spaces is something that we need to remember even if we are working on a small plot, because it is part of a whole, and we need to have that in our consciousness. And having said that, I come back to the last 2-3 slides, which I was told I should present again today, of having art as a forerunner in our minds when we are designing. Because if we say we want to make a circle, and even our Vastu Shastra expert has said that whether it's a circle or it's an organic shape, it has actually the same impact in Vastu Shastra. So what is a circle, and what are the elements that go into making a circle? And can we try out different possibilities and different scales and different lines of the circle so that cohesively it is, or maybe circular in shape if that is what we wish? And thank you, that's it for today.